Guys, in this training, I want to take you through the identity shift matrix, okay? Every single transformation that I have been a part of, every single transformation within this program will go through this matrix, or will go through these types of phases, whether you're aware of it or not. And this is my hypothesis as to why people start something, don't see it through, why people lose weight, put it back on, and so many diets fail, so many transformations fail. So if we look at the zones here, okay, or the phases, we start in this kind of danger zone, this crisis zone. This is when you first reached out. This is when you realised there was a problem and you just had to take some action. Two things that drive human psychology or human behaviour is the avoidance of pain and the desire for gain. But far more action is taken from the avoidance of pain, okay? So you've realised that you're doing something, or you're in a place that you don't want to fucking be in, and you need some help to get out of there. You reach out, you sign up, and you get started, and you get on the path. Now, you don't really have a clear vision at this point. You're just like, I need to get away from where I am. I need to be doing better than what I'm doing right now. Now, the green zone is ultimately where you want to end up. That, if you think about the destination, that's kind of the destination where you're trying to aim for. And obviously it's going to be different from person to person, but that would be the transformation in its entirety, getting to that zone. Now, what you get in the middle is what I would like to call no man's land. So what happens here is you've come in, you've started, you've made early progress, things are looking good. Now, because things are looking good and maybe you're making a bit more progress than you have in a very long time, that the pressure comes off a wee bit, the pain and the danger that you were in at that kind of red zone has almost faded a wee bit, so the urgency has dropped off a wee bit as well. And what can happen here is the standards start to slip, because if you look at it in terms of an identity shift, the person who you were when you're in that red zone and the person who you are in that green zone aren't the same. That the person from the red zone has to die before you get to that green zone. Those two identities can't coexist in the same person, just doesn't work. And so then you have to commit to that change in order to get to that green zone. You have to get to that point. And when you're in no man's land, what happens, or what can often happen, is the old habits or the old identity, it's sitting dormant. And if we're not careful with what we're doing, then these old habits and behaviours can creep back in, and this is what causes people to relapse and ultimately end up back where they started. This is where most transformations fail, because you get to this point, there is a lack of commitment to the new identity, because the pressure has came off and there's not enough pain driving the decisions, that ultimately you allow your standards to slip. Slowly you can go back to square one, and then it's a case of, shit, what's the point now? You lose motivation and you're gone again. Now, that's an extreme example, but I don't know if you remember on the community call I did, it was maybe about 8 months ago, I spoke about this, a real life scenario that happened with a couple of clients I trained a number of years ago. Like, this thing does happen, this can happen if it's left unchecked. So it's important that I make you aware of this situation. Now, in order to get to that green zone, you have to think about, who are you in that area? Like, who are you? What is your identity at that point? It's because to get to that area or to get to that zone, it's not something that you're doing. It's a person who you are. It's an identity, part of your normal operating system. It's built around your values. It's built around the example you want to set for your kids. It's built around the things that are the most important to you, the highest, most value in your life. You don't need a reason to show up. You show up when you're tired. You show up when things aren't going great. You just find a way to get it done, because it's just part of who you are. And it's quite easy for you to be able to tie your identity to those actions, to those habits and behaviours, because you can tie it towards your highest values, the things and the people who matter most in your life. Now, the key thing here is, when you're in that no man's land, to just be able to recognise it and then almost recommit to yourself, like, why is this actually important? Why am I doing what I'm trying to do? Why am I trying to get to this end zone? Why am I trying to get to this green zone? Why am I trying to see this transformation through in its entirety? Why is that important? Who does it affect? Who does it positively affect? What does it change in my life getting to that point? What does my life look like in 3, 5, 10 years time, when I have seen this through in its entirety? And when you can start to create a clear emotional driver and a reason for why you're doing it, then that can be the thing that causes you to recommit and go, right, okay, I need to give myself a wee bit of a shake here. Now, I'm obviously going to remind you of this as well, but it's just about knowing this and recognising this in yourself. The other thing you can do is move the danger zone up, because the reality is that danger zone and that drift zone are almost the same area. Like, if you don't commit to yourself and you don't see the transformation through in its entirety, you will ultimately, more than likely, end up back where you started. That's why 80% of diets fail. Like if we look at the base statistics, it would tell you that that's going to happen. So this isn't about a fear-based thing. This is just about, maybe bringing that pain up a little bit or bringing that pressure up. Geez, if I don't commit here, I'm going to end up back where I was. And what a fucking waste of time that would have been. Like I said, I was going to do something. Why am I not just committing? Why am I not just seeing it through? Like, again, it comes down to your identity. Do you want to be known as a person who says something and sees it through? Like the example that you want to set for your kids. Like, it's not, a lot of the time, none of this stuff is about ourselves. It's about, if we can draw it towards the outcomes for the people we love the most, then we just find ways to get it done. Certainly that's what works in my own life. Like if I draw parallels between the actions that I take on a daily basis and the direct impact that that's going to have on my children, then, by hook or by crook, I'm going to get it done. So I just wanted to bring this identity shift matrix up to you and just bring this up as something to be aware of, because this is definitely something that happens to us all. I drift myself at times, and I find myself, my standards slipping a little bit, and it's like, right, cool, what do I need to do to bring myself back up? Now recently I've been, hammering the positive content. I really think that is a key hack here as well, but I think more of an awareness alone, I think is a really good place to start, and then it's about working through some strategies in order to get ourselves out of the rut, to give ourselves the kick up the arse that we need to get ourselves back on track and see this thing through, to prove to yourself that you can do it, that you can see it through, and that there is no ceiling for you when you commit to something wholeheartedly.